Hello, everyone. My name is Dave Black, and I'm the Marketing and Sales Director for Luminous XR. Just to give you a little bit of background, I've been in the immersive technology space for around about 13 years, spread across augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality, and 3D spatial audio as well. So I'm hosting this session today. Along with me, I have Phil, my colleague. Phil, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi there. Hi. I'm technical product owner at Luminous Group. Worked in VR and Unity development for the last 10 years, developing content for the DK1 headset, Google Cardboard, Samsung Gear, right up to what we're doing now with the MetaQuest 3 headsets.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Phil. So without further ado, just to run through a bit of an agenda, we're going to give a bit of background as to who we are within the industry for delivering the very highly realistic and XR training for industry, manufacturing, and a range of other industries, which I'll go into shortly. So without further ado, I'll just jump into some slides and show you a bit of background, and then we'll jump into a bit of a demo as well, so that you can actually see the products and see how we deliver our safety scenario training. So without further ado, we'll jump into the slides. So this session, as I mentioned, is virtual reality for highly effective safety skills and hazard recognition training. We'll explain a little bit more about what those mean in terms of the terms for safety skills and hazard recognition when we're jumping into the demo shortly. So a little bit about Luminous. At Luminous, we have a full end-to-end platform for managing, making and monetizing hard skills training content. So where we have soft skills, which is primarily around sort of interaction with humans and typically sort of sales techniques and confrontations or dealing with customers, we focus very much on teaching people technical step-by-step procedural learning for industry and manufacturing. So we essentially want to empower organizations to be able to kind of manage everything themselves, hence why we built this technology stack. How we built that technology stack is actually a big credit to the history of Luminous. So we were founded in 2004, and various different has driven us through 3D mapping, modeling, more recently being able to use those models and those environments to host training, visualization, putting up new sort of features within factories, warehouses, and the various different landscapes in which we operate. So we have a lot of experience. We're based in Newcastle in the Northeast. We also have an office in Austin, which was recently launched, and we have an office in Bahrain in the Middle East to serve our largest client, which is Saudi Aramco. We'll go into some of the clients shortly, but we do work across a range of sectors as well. So oil and gas, defense, energy, manufacturing, industrial, construction, food and bev, and alongside pharma, automotive and aviation as well. So we have a lot of conversations happening in those sectors currently. The background to the company, as I mentioned, we are a 3D modeling company. So to capture those 3D models, essentially we go on site and scan the whole environment. So with those 3D scans, we take them, we build the digital twin, and with the digital twin, we're able to then use that as a platform, as an environment to place within or put our training within those environments to ensure that people are learning on the equipment and following standard procedures. Within the Armory, we have the immersive training platform. As I mentioned, that's Portal. We'll give you a full demo of how that operates and how we distribute the content to the various different headsets and devices. At the front part, we have some XR content creation tools as well. So our dabble within virtual reality and mixed reality content creation to become more efficient, to become more effective, and to become quicker with building content. We've been able to establish our own content creation tools, which are now available to developers to be able to build your own training environments. So we'll jump a little bit into that as well later on in the presentation. To give you a little bit of credibility in terms of our client base, we do work with global giants such as Saudi Aramco, PepsiCo, BAE Systems, Saint-Gobain, Morgan, Dow, and Kaifa. So Saint-Gobain are very new onto the roster. However, we've been working with Saudi Aramco for 4.5 years, delivering training across the region of the Kingdom of Saudi. So why use virtual reality for training? So this is the paradigm shift in terms of how training is delivered. Typically, we would have classrooms with teachers delivering training to audiences of people. What virtual reality allows you to do is actually deliver standardized training in an enclosed environment. So to quote a founding father in the United States, Benjamin Franklin, he mentioned, "Tell me and I forget. teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. Now, if we've got an organization such as Saudi Aramco with thousands of people joining the company year on year, the problem is, how do you actually involve so many people and give them one-to-one dedicated hands-on learning? So we believe that VR is the way to do that, and you learn by doing. So putting on the headset allows you to get into the environment and actually learn by doing. So what does virtual reality do as a technology that's so effective? It is a very much a human extension. So what it creates is an isolated experience to enhance the concentration and enhance the muscle memory learning. So when you have that immersion of your eyes and your ears are actually fully dedicated to the learning environment, your brain believes you are there, so you are fully attentive, you are fully aware, and you're fully immersed into that experience. So where that really helps is the eyes and the ears are telling your mind, your senses, and also your response mechanisms that you're there. So walking up a ladder in VR to carry out some safety inspections, it's very believable. You will believe that you're walking up that ladder because of this engagement that you have within the experience. So everything that we do is learn behavior through muscle memory. So when you do things repeatedly again and again, it allows you to build up that muscle memory so that when you're learning in VR, you have the experience of being there. Then when you go on site, you pick up the same tools, you see the same environments, and effectively you feel like you've been working in that environment for a very long time without actually having visited there before. So it's highly effective in that respect. It also allows you to standardize, as I mentioned previously, standardize all of the procedures and the processes within your organization, so we don't have opinionated based learning, which I mean, if you've got two different subject matter experts, one might have an opinion on how things are done, the other might have a subjective alternative way of thinking. But what we can do is consolidate all of the subject matter expert opinions and put them into one single standardized way of working. So this particular webinar is around safety. We believe that this is the starting point for any organization who works with tools, industrial environments, or heavy machinery. If you want to start using virtual reality to get your workforce up to speed and doing things properly, safety first really matters. So we understand that a lot of companies out there realize that the existing methods aren't actually effective enough. So we know there's opportunity there for us to be able to kind of engage with companies like yourselves to really push this as a starting point for taking on board VR across the organization. On the right hand side, we've got 70% improvement in performance compared to traditional training. We see that. We've got the stats after this session. If you want to see some case studies, we have plenty available. We have reduction in injuries. So you going through these experiences, we actually feel and understand the environment. So that's really, really important in terms of the injury rates within organizations. And we also reduce training time as well. So it's a lot quicker. People retain information because of that muscle memory I mentioned earlier. They retain the information much more effectively, and therefore they're much more competent and much more confident in getting into the workplace after that. So I'm just going to give you a little video. This is actually for one of the experiences that we're going to show you, which is hazard recognition. Hazard recognition is a term that we use to essentially talk about when we go onto site. So whether we go to a construction site or whether we go to a warehouse, it could be an electrical substation. There's lots of things that can be hazards on site. So what we're trying to do is put people in the working environment before we actually have them on site, so they can go through these tests. The platform allows trainers to witness what the students are doing in the experience, so we can actually understand where they're going right, where they're going wrong, and we can see, potentially spot any people who are particularly sort of not aware of their environment. So this training will obviously help them to become more aware of their environments before they get into the real world, and therefore reducing any risk that happens on site. So as I mentioned, it's spot hazards in workshops, warehouses, construction sites and substations, but it's off-the-shelf content that we're talking about today. So you can literally just get in contact and we can set you up with a subscription, and you will have that subscription for a year, and it's very easy to use, very easy to implement, and you will see a massive increase in how people are aware of their environments after using this technology as well. The second video is about safety skills, which we'll be demoing shortly. So I'll give you a quick run through of this, which shows you how to sort of check in. It gives you the background as to setting up for your safe working, which includes PPE, includes the locking tag out. We have this available as the screen showing at the moment in multiple different languages. So if you are a global organization, you can change the language to suit whoever's coming into the experiences. We have checklists to see where people are actually doing things right, where they're doing things wrong, and we have the ability to assess people within the platform as well. So all of this is contained within, as I mentioned, the off-the-shelf content. So we'll jump into a bit of that content shortly, but ultimately we'll jump over to Phil. So Phil, you can take the reins, and what we'll do is we'll just go into the platform for a little bit, and then I'll jump into a headset, and I'll be doing some safety skills training, some hazard recognition training on this call as well.
Okay, so hi guys. So this is a demo of our portal, which is the starting point for all of our trainers using our system. This is our Azure-based portal. I'm going to log in there, and you can see that I'm now on the class view. So I'm going to, as you can see, the first thing a trainer will see as they jump in is a list of the classes. So all of our training is based around a class system, being a trainer leading a group of trainees through a VR application, or the trainer scheduling assessments and sessions for his training. So a trainer can create a class, as I'm doing here. I can go in and enter my details. So I'll put in today's webinar. So webinar Thursday. Can go in, choose a trainer. So I'll choose demo trainer, add any additional trainers that I would want to be in there. And then I go in and choose the scenario. So I'm going to select Luminous safety skills, hazard recognition skills. So the key thing about all of our training is that it's all broken down into manageable training modules around 20 minutes, so that VR and learning session can be at its most effective. Trainees can do self-learning, single user sessions in VR at any point, as long as it's part of a class that has a scenario available, which is why we're adding the right scenarios and making that available to trainees right now. So once we've filled out the details, I can hit create. Just add some students there. So go in, add a student, hit save. When I hit create, it'll add it to the bottom of the class. Webinar Thursday, and then I can drill down into the class. So now we have to go in and create a session. A session is, you can think of as like booking a Teams call. We need to know who should come, when it should take place, and what's going to happen in it. You can create a session by going to the point up here. We go in and create a game mode. So our game modes, all of our applications have 3 different types of game modes. We have assisted learning, practice mode, and assessment mode. So in assisted learning, you would go in and you are guided through the application. So you have arrows, you have text to speech, you have any steps, anything in the process is shown how to do it. In practice mode, if you were to jump in, you would give no guidance, you would play through, but you would be able to fail that mode. And if you did fail, it would tell you you failed, and essentially it would then allow you to have another go. And that is the part where we're trying to reinforce the learning by giving users the ability to fail, to do things wrong, to tell them how they've done it wrong, and let them go again. There is also an assessment mode, which you can see here. So assessment mode is where we go in and we validate that learning. We jump in and we essentially test the user, see whether they can actually recall that knowledge that they've learned in the first 2 modes, and whether they can actually do their training. So I'm going through and setting up the session here. As you can see, I've added the scenario for hazard recognition, and I've chosen some modules, so workshops, construction, and warehouse. And then we can go in and invite any users, so invite everybody there, hit create, and essentially that meeting, that session is available for users to jump in. So once we've created the session, all we need to do now is actually give users access. And the way we link any of our VR applications, whether it's desktop, whether it's VR, to our portal is through pins. If I click on demo trainer here, so you can see that the pin for this guy is 75522. Pin for the student here, 7294. So you can see that everybody has individualized pins, and that's how we link all of our applications to the portal. As a trainer, all you would have to do now is give those pins across to your students, your trainees, and they'd be able to put a headset on and jump in, connect to the application. We do have some analytics in the portal as well, mainly time-based. However, new features are coming in June, allowing a lot more in-depth assessment mode, analytics, as well as a host of gamification features as well, enabling us to award medals and certificates for completing modules. And we do have extensive user management where we can import bulk users or we can add users individually. Show you that dialog there. We do have the concept of roles, so we can go in and add administrators, trainees, and trainers. Obviously, administrators, when they jump into the portal, see all the detail. They would be available and they can create trainers, they can create trainees. Trainers would only ever see classes they created and their users they added, and trainees only see their own data. If they were to log into the portal, they would see their own dashboard, see their own pins, and see all of the sessions that are scheduled for them. Okay, so once we've gone in, created all the users, we've created our classes, we're at the point now where we can actually jump into VR. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start up our desktop application. I'm going to start up hazard recognition. And this is the desktop version. So this is like the companion app for the VR. And it's there to essentially allow you to, as a trainer, you quickly and easily jump between the portal back to the desktop application and jump in and administer it. So what you're seeing on the screen here at the moment is our Luminous lobby. This is an area where everyone can come and join, essentially like the waiting area of an application. It has some cool features. It's got a big button here that in VR, you can hit this button and you would play through an orientation. You can also, in VR, you see exactly the same as what I'm seeing on the desktop version here. We have some cool games over here you can play to learn VR. So you can pick up this wheel key, try it on the bar. You can use the forklift over here to actually drive it around, and we can use the drone just to learn how to VR. Our orientation also teaches you all of the things you need to be able to teleport, to be able to grab things, to be able to snap them, and just teach you everything's sort of administered through this big screen. If I go over to the screen, hit start, the first thing you ask for, as I've said before, is your PIN. And this is how we link all of our applications to the portal. So my PIN, I'm just going to put in 11826, hit enter, and I will join the metaverse. And I am given the choice of an avatar to use. So I'll just choose a male avatar. I'm then given the choice of either going in single user or going in multi-user. So single user is obviously a point where we could play through totally by ourselves and just learn what all of the training and play through end to end, all of the processes, essentially learn and play to our heart's content. What we also have though is this multi-user. So multi-user allows a trainer and a trainee to jump into an application and be in there together. So when I hit enter my name there, I can see the sessions. So it's communicated with the portal, pull down the data it needs to say that I'm able to join this webinar demo session, which we created in the portal. And I'll hit join room and I will connect in, and I'm now in a multi-user room waiting for everyone else to join. So Dave is in his headset next to me and he's going to enter his PIN, and we'll give him a second and he will jump in and we'll be able to see him in here. You can see here is a desktop user. I can scroll through this module selection. So we can see we've got the hazard recognition workshop here, construction site, a warehouse, and a substation. You can see here that the connected users changed. Dave's here. So if I just have a look around, there he is. Go over and see him over here. Yeah.
Hi, Phil. Hi, Phil.
So obviously we can talk to each other. This is great and a necessary feature so that we can have all of this happening remotely. So obviously me and Dave are in the same room here, but he could be anywhere in the world and we could still all jump into the application. You can see we've got some interactive features here where Dave's writing on this board. We could use this as a meeting room, or we could go around and grab some things and interact with some objects. You can see he's over there now. Cool. So once we're happy that everyone's here and everyone's joined, we can hit start on one of these modules and we all pulled in to the module. So hazard recognition is what we're going to showcase here. Hazard recognition is very much an entry-level VR experience. It's very much you have a controller, you point at a thing, you click it. It's not as interactive as some of our fully interactive scenarios, but it is a great initial learning experience for trainers and trainees. So I'm going to hit start on this warehouse scenario, and you can see we are counting down. We are loaded out of the lobby and then loaded back in to the actual module.
There are a total of 11
So-
active hazards for you to identify. Toggle to view the corrective state for
I
each
can,
hazard. Select next to
this
start.
UI is getting read out to me. It's saying teleport on the site, select each hazard, and I can click on any of these UIs. The moment Dave can't though, this is through choice. This is one of our control settings we have in here. So I'll just press M on the keyboard to pop up the menu, and we have a list of users here. What I can do is make Dave active. So to do that, I click on active, and that does then allow him to click on UIs and progress through the scenario. So he's going to click on next as he did there, and you can see that that's synced up between when he does an interaction, it happens for me as well. I can, yeah, Dave teleport around. So we're going to go over to this hazard area over here, and you can see that as we teleport over, the hazard is actually highlighted. Dave can point and
In
click on
this
this hazard,
the slope ratio on
and
the
we're
ladder
told
is
why
at
it's
a
a hazard.
dangerous ratio,
So
which
for
could lead to
example,
the
in this
ladder
hazard, the slope
collapsing,
ratio on the ladder
injuring
is a
personnel.
dangerous ratio. You can see it's not a 4-to-1 angle here, and he's at risk of that ladder collapsing or he's not getting. So what we can do is
All
toggle that
ladder
hazard
slope
and
ratios
fix
must be
it and show
4
what
to
it
1.
should be. So you can see the change there from the acute angle to the correct angle, and that is essentially how we teach these guys these hazards. So that's one example of a hazard in here. I can pull it there around and we'll go and find some different. So this one over here is there's a pile of
Here,
random boxes on the
multiple
floor. There
cardboard
is
boxes have been left
housekeeping
thrown around
hazard.
the area,
We
which
can
could lead
click
to
on
serious
those,
injury and
rectify
the
that
fire.
hazard,
Fire
and
safety
see
and
how it
general
should be.
housekeeping in the workplace is
Essentially,
vital
there's
for a safe
11
working
more of these
environment,
type
and
of
it is your
hazards around this
responsibility.
environment.
You must keep combustible raising or lowering the
There's
load
a
on the
forklift
forks
hazard.
while
This guy's
operating a
moving about
forklift
with
can
his
distract and restrict the view of the
without
operator, putting
as he's
surrounding
lowering
personnel at risk.
the load. What you should do is move and lower it without
The
moving.
load on the forks
So
can
you
only
see
be
the
raised
corrected
or lowered while
version
the
of that.
forklift is parked or in a stationary position.
And we have some more ladder hazards, same kind of thing, but a bit more specific that it's not extending further
Here,
enough.
this ladder does not extend over the
Hard
landing,
up
and
over
person to use
the
it
edge
to
of
reach
the-
the ladder. At least length
So
of
that's
ladder
an
must be
application for
maintained
that.
above the landing surface.
So you can see as a trainer, I can follow Dave around and we can actually see what he's doing, see if he's learning, see if he's identifying the hazards that are there.
In this hazard,
This
a
is our
forklift
assisted
is
learning
being
mode, so it
operated
is
at
just
speeds
going
that
in and
exceed
learning
the allowed
these
speed
hazards.
limit for the site,
In practice
leading to
mode, when you
dangerous
jump in
driving.
and do this, it is very much more a randomized
Forklift movement must be restricted
procedure.
to
So you jump
maintain
in,
the
there's
allowed
6
speed
random
limit and
hazards, they're not
caution on
highlighted,
sharp
so you have to
bends.
look for them. And when you find a hazard, you have to select it and essentially you're asked what the hazard is. So you would be clicking on it and have to identify that it's a slip, trips and falls hazard, or whether it's a housekeeping hazard. Or also we have done applications as well where we're asked to what is the actual fix for this hazard. So one over here, which is the gas cylinder. What would be the fix for that? Would it be remove the gas cylinder completely? Would it be put it in its cage? Would it
In
be
this
add an
hazard,
extra
gas
label?
cylinders
That
marked
sort
as
of thing.
empty have been left lying on the shop floor, which could lead to hazardous gases being released and serious injury. Cylinders, even those
So
marked
obviously the correct
empty,
fix for that
shall
is
be
put it in
treated
its
as a
cage and make
possible
sure it's got
hazard
the
and
actual
handled
label
with
on it
great
that it should
care.
have.
No cylinder is completely
So as
empty
we
of
play
gas.
through, obviously there's
Empty
11
cylinders
hazards
should
in
be
here. We go
disposed of
through and identify
appropriately.
them all. This is
Secure
one
the
of
empty cylinders.
this is what we call
The
a module.
cylinders
So
should be
it's
capped.
a
Refer to storage
warehouse is the module.
instructions.
We're in here. We're doing 11 hazards. If we were to go in the construction site, as a different example,
Here,
when we jumped
personnel
into that,
working
there
at
is
heights, the 3
12
points of
hazards in that
contact
one,
rule must be
and
maintained
all
at
different
all
types
times
of
while
hazards as well.
operating
So
on the
it's
ladder.
what you get in if you purchase the hazard recognition is essentially 4 modules with each with 10 hazards. So you're getting a good breadth of work. Okay, so once we're happy that there's done enough learning in here, essentially we can hit exit, which I'll do now, and we'll be pulled back to the lobby. And this is the same in all of our applications. So we go through the same process where everything's kind of done from the lobby, and we then go into a module, come back to the lobby, and we could potentially have gone into a different module up here as well. So maybe the construction site or the substation or the workshop. And just to show how that works, we'll jump into construction site as well.
Teleport around the site and select each hazard
So-
that is
so we're in the
highlighted with the
construction
laser
site.
pointer. There are a total of
From
14
there,
active
we can see
hazards
we've
for you
got
to
scaffolds
identify.
in here. We have
Move the toggle to view the
codes, we have
corrective
missing
state for each
fences, we
hazard.
have
Select next to start.
guys up scaffold without harnesses on and all of that sort of thing. So we can make things active, so we can click on clean hazards. So you can see I can click on next there as well, and things in trenches that shouldn't be there, ladders that are at the wrong angle inside the trenches and all of that as well. Nice one. So that is obviously our hazard recognition scenario, and we're able to
Obstructing the cabin of
hazards in this.
equipment
What
operators
we'll do
shall
now
have
is actually jump out of this
360
scenario
degree
and we'll
visibility when
go
operating
into a
equipment.
different scenario and
Cabs
show you
shall be
what safety
kept
skills
clean
is.
and clear of
Safety
items
skills
such as
is a much
rubbish and
more
loose tools. Windows shall be kept clean at all times and shall be
it's a much
replaced if
more
the glass
interactive
becomes
scenario. So it's very much a picking up things, snapping them in place, doing a much more of an end-to-end process than what we call an exploratory scenario, which is what this hazard recognition is. So I'm just closing that application, and then I'm going to start a safety skills application. And Dave's going to jump out of his hazard rec scenario and then log into his safety skills scenario. So exactly the same procedure with this one, whereas we're going to jump in and do safety skills. So we'll let that load up. Same process, we're up in the lobby, we go over to the screen, log in with the same pin that we created before. It's 10, who's our avatar, hit multi-user, into my main. And there we go, it's pulled down a webinar safety skills, join that room. And safety skills has a lot more modules available. We have things like permit officers, PPE room, working at heights, removing valves, removing pumps, and then we've got low energy or work on finding spaces. Cool. So obviously same procedure. Once everybody's in the lobby, we can go through and we can choose a module. So what we're going to do is jump into confined spaces environment. We'll just play through a few of the steps. We'll not do the whole thing, but we'll just show you some of the interactions that you can do in here with your things like your gas detectors and picking up, identifying some of the things that are in the environment to help you out.
Working in confined spaces. Press next to continue.
Cool. So this is confined spaces. I'll just make Dave active and we can start playing through some of the scenario.
You are about to
so we have extra characters in here as well.
Grab the work order.
The safety inspector
Visually
and
check the work order to
Dave interacting with some of these
tool.
permits here, so you can pick those up and off your tool belt.
Teleport to the job site to continue.
To the job site.
Which work do you want to perform?
Some to this guy's coming over.
As part of the SWP issuing process, you need to identify the safety equipment and hazards near the work location.
Point and click on the highlighted
so we can add as much stuff into these environments as we want that will satisfy and make it look realistic. So we've added things like fire extinguishers so that you know where they are, the safety intercoms, things like the hoses, which Dave's picking up here. So I'm going to put the hose back because it was in blocking the red circle right there. Instead.
Point and click on the chemical sign to
identify chemical signs. What is actually in this environment, just to put the hole. And say what is actually in this tank, and teach you about some of the labeling, and teach you about what you're looking for on your work permit and that sort of thing. But then that's to sort of identify some of the safety equipment, which we can add some extra highlights for. So when we click fire extinguisher, that highlights in the environment. When we click safety shower, that will also highlight, so you can see where it is. We've got things like windsocks as well. They're very important on oil and gas facilities. And some of the intercoms, which one next to you here, and the assembly point as well, so that users know where to go in the event of an emergency. Some of the extra things that we have built into our scenarios, so you can see down in the bottom corner of our screen here, we're on step 15 now of this process. We can also skip backwards and forwards in our scenarios so that we can jump to specific steps.
The SWP
and keep us all in sync. So this guy's doing a check with his gas detector to make sure there's no gas coming out of the scenario. And Dave's just wants to stop there. I can just skip us forward a few. So we're on step 17. And I can skip to.
I will need point and click. Please check your gas outside of the grab the gas monitor.
Where Dave's going to grab his gas monitor from his tool belt. Grab that. You can see that we're all still in sync. We're all doing the correct actions here. Put that back in your tool that will delete. Good. And then the guy can come in, give us make sure that everything's good, put his signs up that he needs to put up there, and we can actually jump in and run that into the tank there.
The safety attendant has the log sheet and the gas teleport to the storage tank to
So I did teleport into the tank. I'm in there with him. We're in here. We're doing a check. And unfortunately, the gas monitor alarm's going off. Hopefully, you can hear that as well. And you can see the gas is coming up there. So obviously, when we're in here, we need to get out as soon as that happens. So we need to teleport out. Hit that teleport button. So this is the last few steps. Obviously, when the gas monitor alarms, the plant alarm's going to start going off soon, and then when that happens, we've got to get to the assembly point, which is the
SWP and snap it to your tool belt.
And it's just making users aware of what they should do if these sort of things happen on site. There we go. We'll jump out there. I think we're pretty much done. And
Okay, so just switching back to my screen. Thanks very much for that, Phil. Okay, so just to kind of follow on from that, in terms of what you've just been witnessing, this is a full end-to-end solution. So within the Luminous platform, which is called Portal, you're able to manage all the sessions, all the content that's been built, and all the users and the classes as well. So we've seen that from Phil. So thank you very much for showing us through that. What I want to also highlight is Flow. So this is our creation tool. It's a Unity-based authoring tool, which allows developers to build these scenarios very, very quickly. So each of the steps that you saw within that experience that I was just in there, each of those steps takes a little bit of time to curate in terms of the action, the objects, and what the ultimate objective is of the task. So we've built that into a system which allows us to produce contents a lot quicker, up to 80% at times quicker than what we used to be able to create it at. This obviously relieves a lot of effort from the workflow and the process of creating the content. It also allows us to replicate a lot of the experiences very quickly as well. So Flow is a really important tool for speeding up the process, making it more effective, more efficient, and obviously reducing overhead costs in terms of getting that content developed as well. So on the right hand side, we have it's not available yet, but we are working on a marketplace. So if people do adopt Flow as a creation tool, they're able to build their own modules, scenarios, environments, and then they're able to actually monetize that on the marketplace. So build one, sell to many. This is highly effective, especially for sort of educational establishments where you're putting in training courses and then able to sell them to other institutions as well. So that's the full stack. It's the end-to-end stack, as I mentioned, but it's been worked on for quite a few years now, and that's the next stage for creating the industrial metaverse. So as I mentioned, Flow is for building the content. We have Portal to manage it, to essentially manage the content and manage the classes as well, all the students, all the trainers. It is a content management system and learning management system rolled into one. So some of the other stuff that we can do, we've touched on obviously off-the-shelf safety training. So that's hazard recognition and safety skills. We can also do a lot of other things where we can troubleshoot. So we can go into large-scale industrial environments, and we can actually put in suggested safety issues or troubleshooting mechanical problems. So this is something that's really useful to sort of be learning on the job, as it were, but in a safe virtual environment. So troubleshooting is a really good way to get people up to speed in providing them problems and get them to overcome them in a safe environment. We have our linear technical training. This is where we really excel. It's step-by-step procedural learning, using the steps that you saw within those experiences just a moment ago. So being able to talk people through a process again and again and again in a safe environment, but being able to have that muscle memory, take on board every step, so that when they are in the real environment, it's very much something that they've been used to for a while, and therefore they're much more confident and competent going into the real world live environment. You'll see in the short video here on the right hand side, and we can actually, with virtual reality, provide things that you can't in the real world, which is exposing the inner workings of large scale machinery. So rather than having textbooks, manuals, or even maybe videos in classroom environments, what we can do is actually give you the whole sort of look through and breakthrough of how things work and how operations are managed on site, without actually the ability to do so on the real world environment. So virtual meetings are also something that becomes standard with Portal. So we have the ability to add multiple people into the same room, so you can ideate, you can actually visualize. It can happen in multilingual as well. So basically we can have multiple people from multiple countries at the same time, multiple languages doing the training. So it truly is a global, expansive platform that people can actually sort of join together and do multiple different types of activities. So in terms of the actual learning, so Phil mentioned earlier that we do have different types of learning. We have the guided learning, which is the step-by-step instructions with the audio to guide you through the experiences. We can add arrows and various different sort of action motives to guide people through that learning. That's what we do very well, is taking the real world instructions and delivering them into a virtual game environment, which is particularly good to convert people to think about sort of what the real world environment is going to look like. Practice mode allows you to go through it again and again without any cues. So you're literally left to your own devices to go through the processes. This actually gives the instructor a very good idea of how you're combating that particular piece of training and how you're actually trying to navigate the environment. So practice mode is very important. And then assessment allows you within the system to assess and to judge and to actually qualify people through the process as well. So it's a fully operational learning management system, as I mentioned, but the content management system part is really important for being able to deliver the content from the centralized platform through to all the various different devices that you have across the organization, wherever they are, and in whatever state. So in a nutshell, that's kind of summarizing what we do in terms of the actual training scenarios, but also the technology as well. We're coming to the end of this webinar. To say thank you very much. As I mentioned, if you want to get in contact, please do so. So thanks very much. Thank you, Phil, for joining us on the webinar, and hopefully see you guys again soon. Thank you very much.